Do you ever struggle with your purpose in life? Or have you ever struggled with getting clarity during some transitions in life? All of us at some point have issues around figuring out our purpose, getting clarity in transition. And it's one of those things that those two seem to be tied together. And especially when we're in the middle of change, when we're in transition, and those transitions can be anything around change in jobs, change in child to adult, graduating high school, college. It can be in relationships, maybe beginning, ending, or around grief and illness. It can be, we feel that transition, the bite of it as we are turning new chapters in life in what we are interested in and what we want to do. It's one of those things of how do we understand and get clarity in those moments of transition that really help us to understand our purpose. So for today, I've got Deuteronomy 15:11, and it kind of gives us a sense of how do we navigate this whole thing really well? How do we come out on the other side of it? Deuteronomy 15:11 says, poor persons will never disappear from the earth. That's why I'm giving you this command. You must open your hand generously to your fellow Israelites, to the needy among you, and to the poor who live with you in your land. Now, your mind may have immediately went, the moment I said poor, the poor persons will never disappear. You may have gone money, right? Because that's usually where our minds go because of the culture that we live in, that it's kind of like one of those things, and it's true, right? If you are poor in money, you can become impoverished in struggling with being poor with food. You can be poor in housing. You can be poor in opportunities. You can be poor in safety. And that's absolutely a piece of this conversation. But to note of poor persons will never disappear from the earth, we need to hear this, internalize this as something much bigger, because all of us at some point will be poor in something that has nothing to do with money. Like, we may be poor in joy. We may be poor in hope. We may be poor in clarity. We may be poor in love, relationships, encouragement. We may be poor in knowledge. We may be poor in being content. We may be poor in wisdom. We may be poor in peace. We may feel this really big at the moment. We may be poor in time. All of us are poor in something. And so the beginning of this passage gives us a sense of, okay, well, let's be able to articulate, because if we're trying to figure out our purpose, if we're trying to get clarity in how to navigate life's transitions, we're going to have to understand what we are lacking, what we are poor in. And it doesn't stop with, let's identify. It actually gives us a way forward when it says, that's why I'm giving you this command. You must open your hand generously to your fellow Israelites, to the needy among you, and to the poor who live with you in your land. Open your hand generously. Open your hand generously with others is being attuned to others' needs, of paying attention what's kind of happening around you. But it's also giving us a chance to, as we are generous with others in whatever way they need, in a multitude that comes from our gifts and abilities, that we begin to understand something of our purpose, which then translates into us getting a little bit more clarity in life's transitions, because we become grounded in the way that we navigate through, because we understand what our overarching purpose of life is and how we navigate those transitions while staying grounded in that. And it's not like this is going to happen in a lightning bolt kind of moment, but instead, as we every single day try to live generously with others, that we begin to learn something new. We begin to acquire knowledge. We get a little piece of the puzzle about what our purpose is and how we live that out. And so it's a journey. It's a practice that we decide to engage in. And so how will you allow Deuteronomy 15:11 to challenge you this day? How will you lay the foundation of going, all right, if I'm struggling with my purpose, if I'm feeling poor in clarity, how can I live generously with the person that comes into my life this day in whatever way that is? How might I live generously so that I can gain that clarity and understanding that I seek? How will you be challenged by Deuteronomy, by this clarity, by finding your purpose today? Have a good one.